The emergency beacon screamed across the void of space, cutting through radio static like a knife through silk. On Earth, deep within the concrete bunkers of the Global Communications Array, technician Sarah Chen nearly dropped her coffee as the alien transmission flooded her headset. "Director Morrison," she called out, her voice cracking with excitement and terror. "You need to hear this. Now." Director James Morrison, a weathered man in his 50s with silver hair and tired eyes, rushed to Sarah's station. The message played again, translated by their quantum linguistics AI. "To any who can hear this, we are the Zalathi Confederation. Our worlds burn. The devourers consume everything in their path. Billions have died. We beg for aid. We offer all our knowledge, our technology, our very souls. Please, if there is anyone out there who can help us, we are dying." Static filled the silence that followed. Morrison's hands trembled as he reached for the secure communication link to the United Earth Council. 3 hours later, the emergency session was in chaos. "They're offering us their entire technological database," Admiral Catherine Hayes announced, to the packed chamber. "Faster than light travel, energy manipulation, medical advances that could extend human life by centuries." "In exchange for what?" demanded Senator Rodriguez, his voice sharp with suspicion. "Military aid? Our fleet consists of barely a dozen patrol ships that can't even reach Mars without a month-long journey." Admiral Hayes pulled up a holographic display showing the Zalathi star charts. Red markers indicated dead worlds consumed by something called the Devourers. "They've specifically requested that we send our most dangerous vessel. They said, and I quote, 'Send us your weapon of last resort. Send us what your enemies fear most.'" Nervous laughter rippled through the chamber. Counselor Williams stood up, his face pale. "We don't have weapons of last resort. Our military is designed for planetary defense and asteroid mining operations." "Actually," a quiet voice spoke from the back, "we do have one ship." All eyes turned to Dr. Elena Vasquez, the head of the Experimental Military Division. She was a small woman with sharp features and eyes that seemed to hold dangerous secrets. "Project Pandora," she continued, walking to the center of the chamber. "Declassified as of 1 hour ago. We built it using reverse-engineered alien technology recovered from the Roswell site and 17 other crash locations over the past century." The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Morrison leaned forward. "What kind of ship are we talking about, Doctor?" Dr. Vasquez smiled grimly. "The kind that should never be used. The kind that makes nuclear weapons look like firecrackers. The kind that could crack a planet in half if we're not careful." Admiral Hayes felt her blood run cold. "And you want to send this thing to help aliens we've never met? The Zalathi sent us their complete biological scans, their history, their culture. Our AI has analyzed everything. They're not lying about the Devourers. These creatures have consumed 47 star systems in the past decade. If they continue at this rate, they'll reach Earth in approximately 200 years. The chamber fell silent except for the hum of the air recyclers. "But here's what's really interesting," Dr. Vasquez continued. "The Devourers always stop at the edge of solar systems. They consume everything organic, but leave certain mineral deposits untouched. The same minerals we use in our most advanced weapons systems." Senator Rodriguez stood slowly. "You're saying they're afraid of something. I'm saying maybe it's time they learn to be afraid of humans." Chapter 2. The Pandora Awakens. The ship hung in the shadows of Luna's far side, hidden from Earth's telescopes and prying eyes. Captain Marcus Reed had seen a lot of classified projects in his 20 years of military service, but nothing had prepared him for the Pandora. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The hull seemed to absorb light, making it almost invisible against the starfield. Strange geometric patterns covered its surface, pulsing with an inner energy that made his teeth ache just looking at it. "Sir." His first officer, Lieutenant Commander Lisa Park, appeared beside him in the observation deck. "The crew briefing is ready." Reed nodded, unable to take his eyes off the ship. "How many know what they're really signing up for?" "Officially?" Just the senior staff. Unofficially. Park paused. Word travels fast in the service. They know it's dangerous. They know it's probably a one-way trip. They volunteered anyway. The crew assembled in the station's main briefing room was smaller than Reed had expected. 37 people to operate humanity's most dangerous weapon. He recognized most of them. Volunteers from various branches of the military, scientists, engineers. The best and the brightest, or perhaps the most expendable depending on how you looked at it. Dr. Vasquez stood at the front of the room, next to a holographic display of the Pandora's schematics. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're about to hear is classified beyond any level you've previously encountered. The Pandora is not just a ship. It's a weapon system built around technologies we don't fully understand. She activated the display, showing the ship's core. The heart of the Pandora is what we call a reality distortion engine. It manipulates the fundamental forces that hold matter together. In simple terms, it can unmake things at the atomic level. Chief Engineer Tom Rodriguez, a stocky man with calloused hands, raised his hand. What's the range on this thing? Theoretical maximum is roughly the size of Earth's moon. We've only tested it on asteroid-sized targets. Dr. Vasquez's expression darkened. The largest test subject simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no debris. It was there one moment, gone the next. Weapons specialist Maria Santos whispered, under her breath, Jesus Christ. The navigation system uses quantum tunneling to bend space-time, Dr. Vasquez continued. We can reach the Zalathi system in approximately 6 weeks. The aliens' fastest ships would take 6 months for the same DUA journey. Captain Reed stepped forward. I won't lie to you. The mortality rate for reality distortion engine exposure is 60% during the first year. The ship's AI estimates a 40% chance we'll survive long enough to reach the Zalathi system. If we use the weapon at full power, those odds drop significantly. Silence filled the room. Finally, Communications Officer David Kim spoke up. Captain, what happens if we don't go? What happens if we let the Devourers consume the Zalathi? Reed pulled up the strategic projections. According to their data, the Devourers will have consumed every inhabited system within 1,000 light-years within 50 years. Earth's position puts us directly in their expansion path. So we're not really going to save the aliens, Park said quietly. We're going to save ourselves. Maybe, Reed admitted. Or maybe we're going to die horribly in the vacuum of space. But at least we'll die fighting. One by one, hands began to rise around the room, volunteers confirming their commitment. By the end of the briefing, all 37 crew members had agreed to board humanity's most dangerous ship and fly it into the unknown. As they filed out, Dr. Vasquez caught Reed's arm. Captain, there's something else. Something I couldn't say in front of the others. Reed waited, dreading what was coming next. The reality distortion engine. It's not entirely under our control. Sometimes it activates on its own, usually in response to extreme emotional states from the crew. Fear, anger, desperation. The AI thinks it might be partially telepathic. You're telling me the most powerful weapon in human history has a mind of its own? I'm telling you it might have several minds. Every test pilot who's flown a reality distortion prototype has reported voices, whispers. Sometimes they claim to see the ghosts of the aliens who originally built the technology. Reed closed his eyes, feeling the weight of command settling on his shoulders like a lead blanket. When do we launch? Tomorrow morning. The Zalathi sent another message 3 hours ago. They have perhaps 2 weeks before the Devourers reach their core systems. If we're going to help them, we need to leave now. As Reed walked toward the Pandora's docking bay, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was about to unleash something that would change humanity forever. The question was whether it would save them or destroy them. Chapter 3. Into the Abyss. The Pandora's launch was unlike anything in human spaceflight history. Instead of the traditional chemical burn and gradual acceleration, the reality distortion engine simply moved the ship. One moment they were docked at Luna Station, the next they were beyond the orbit of Pluto, space-time rippling around them like water. Captain Reed gripped his command chair as reality settled back into something resembling normal physics. Half his crew was unconscious, blood trickling from their noses. The other half looked like they'd seen the face of God and found it wanting. "Status report," he managed to croak. "All systems green." Lieutenant Park sounded uncertain. "Sir, the navigation computer says we've traveled 47 billion kilometers in under 30 seconds. Chief Rodriguez was hunched over his engineering console, his face pale green. "Captain, the engine readings are... I don't know how to describe them. It's like the ship is partially phased out of our reality." Dr. Vasquez's voice crackled over the intercom from the science bay. "Captain, you need to see this. Now." Reed made his way through corridors that seemed to shift and blur at the edges of his vision. The ship felt different, as if it existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Crew members moved carefully, speaking in hushed tones, their eyes darting to shadows that seemed to move independently. The science bay was in chaos. Instruments recorded impossible readings, while Dr. Vasquez and her team tried to make sense of the data streaming across their screens. "The reality distortion engine isn't just bending space-time," she explained rapidly. "It's accessing what appears to be parallel dimensions. Look at this." She showed him a display covered in quantum probability matrices. "These readings suggest that right now, the Pandora exists in approximately 16 different realities simultaneously. We're seeing echoes of alternate versions of ourselves, alternate timelines. Is that why crew members are reporting voices and visual hallucinations? Possibly. But Captain, there's something else. The engine is learning. Its efficiency has improved by 12% since we launched, and it's adapting to our crew's brain patterns. I think it's becoming more human." A new alarm began blaring throughout the ship. Reed rushed back to the bridge where Lieutenant Park was staring at the tactical display in horror. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's from us." The main screen activated, showing the Pandora's bridge. But this version was wrong. The walls were scorched black, bodies lay slumped over consoles, and Captain Reed, an older, scarred version of himself, stared out at them with hollow eyes. "If you're seeing this," the other Reed said, "then you've made the same choice we did. You've awakened the Pandora and learned to bend reality to your will. Let me tell you what we discovered." Static filled the transmission before the image cleared again. "The Devourers aren't aliens, they're us. They're what humanity becomes when we fully master the reality distortion technology. In our timeline, we saved the Zalathi, but the engine changed us, made us hungry for more power, more energy, more life force to fuel our abilities." Reed felt his blood turn to ice. "Cut the transmission." "I can't, sir. It's not coming through our communications array. It's being projected directly by the engine itself." The other Reed continued speaking. "The irony is perfect, isn't it? The Zalathi called for help against the Devourers, not knowing that their call would create the very monsters they feared. But here's what you need to understand. It doesn't have to end the same way." The image flickered, showing glimpses of other timelines, versions of the Pandora crew that had become something inhuman, their bodies twisted by reality distortion energy. Versions where Earth itself had been consumed to feed the engine's growing hunger. "There is one path that leads to survival," the scarred Reed said. "But it requires sacrifice. It requires you to do something we couldn't." The transmission cut out, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Communications Officer Kim was the first to speak. "Sir, we're receiving a new message from the Zalathi system. It's not from the Zalathi." The alien voice that filled the bridge was cold, mechanical, utterly without emotion. "We are the Devourers. We know you are coming. We remember when we were like you, young, idealistic, believing we could save everyone. The reality distortion engine will change you as it changed us. You will become what you fear most. Turn back now, or become us." Reed stood in the center of his bridge, surrounded by frightened faces looking to him for leadership. Outside the viewports, space itself seemed to writhe and twist, responding to the emotional turmoil of the crew. "Sir," Park whispered, "what are your orders?" Reed looked at each of his crew members, seeing the fear and determination warring in their eyes. Somewhere ahead lay the Zalathi system, where billions of aliens waited for salvation that might damn their saviors. Behind them lay Earth, blissfully unaware that humanity's first steps into the larger galaxy might also be their last steps as a recognizably human species. "We continue," Reed said finally, "but we do it with our eyes open. Dr. Vasquez, I want constant monitoring of all crew members for signs of change. Any alterations to brain patterns, cellular structure, anything. If this engine is going to transform us into monsters, we need to know when it starts." "And if it does start?" Park asked. Reed's jaw tightened. "Then we make sure we save the Zalathi before we lose ourselves completely." As the Pandora hurtled deeper into the unknown, propelled by technology that defied comprehension, the crew began to understand that they weren't just racing to save an alien civilization. They were racing against their own transformation into something that would make the Devourers look merciful by comparison. Chapter 4. The Price of Power. 3 weeks into their journey, the changes began. It started small. Chief Rodriguez noticed that he could see electromagnetic fields with his naked eyes, the ship's power conduits glowing like neon rivers through the walls. Communications Officer Kim discovered he could hear radio transmissions without his equipment, alien voices whispering in languages that his brain somehow translated automatically. Dr. Vasquez documented each transformation with scientific precision, even as her own body began to change. Her eyes now showed flecks of silver, and she could perceive quantum probability streams as physical objects she could almost touch. "The reality distortion engine isn't just powering our ship," she reported during the daily medical briefing. "It's rewriting our DNA, optimizing us to interface with the technology. We're becoming something new." Captain Reed studied the readings from the privacy of his quarters. According to the sensors, his brain now operated on frequencies that shouldn't exist. He could feel the ship around him like an extension of his own body, could sense the thoughts and emotions of his crew as if they were his own. The voices were the worst part. Whispers in the walls, shadows that moved when he wasn't looking directly at them. Sometimes he caught glimpses of the crew they might become. Beings of pure energy wrapped in human-shaped shells, their faces beautiful and terrible and completely without compassion. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Reed activated his personal terminal, expecting another report from Earth. Instead, he found himself looking at a transmission from the Zalathi system. But this wasn't the desperate plea they'd received weeks ago. The alien on the screen was different, tall, elegant, with skin that seemed to shimmer with its own internal light. When it spoke, its voice carried harmonics that made Reed's bones vibrate. "Greetings, humans of the vessel Pandora. I am High Counselor Thane of the Zalathi Confederation. We have been monitoring your approach with great interest." Reed activated the ship's recording systems. Something about the alien's tone set off alarm bells in his mind. "Your species has surprised us," Thane continued. "When we sent our distress call, we expected to receive aid from one of the elder races, beings who had learned to master reality distortion technology safely. We did not expect such young species to possess such dangerous capabilities." The image shifted, showing the Zalathi homeworld, but instead of the burning wasteland described in their original message, Reed saw gleaming cities, orbital stations, and what appeared to be a thriving civilization. "The truth, Captain Reed, is that there are no devourers threatening our worlds. There never were. The distress signal was a test." Reed's blood turned to ice. "A test? For thousands of years, the elder races have monitored younger species, waiting for them to develop reality distortion technology. Most fail. They destroy themselves or become monsters. But occasionally, a species shows potential. They demonstrate the wisdom to use such power responsibly." The transmission showed images of other races, beings that had transcended physical form, entities that existed as pure thought, creatures that could reshape matter with their will alone. Humanity, however, has chosen a different path. You, have built a weapon of unimaginable destructive power and pointed it at the galaxy. Your ship could unmake entire star systems. Your crew is transforming into something that views organic life as merely energy to be consumed. Reed wanted to protest, to deny the accusations, but he could feel the truth in his own changing body. The hunger was growing stronger each day, not for food but for power, for the intoxicating rush of bending reality to his will. We cannot allow the Pandora to reach our system, Thane continued. For the safety of all organic life in the galaxy, your ship must be stopped. The transmission ended, leaving Reed staring at a blank screen. Moments later, alerts began cascading across his personal terminal. Long-range sensors had detected a massive fleet approaching their position, ships unlike anything in human databases, vessels that seemed to exist partially outside normal space-time. Reed rushed to the bridge, where his transformed crew was already analyzing the incoming threat. Lieutenant Park's skin now had a metallic sheen, and her eyes glowed with the same energy that powered their engines. "Captain," she reported, her voice carrying new harmonics. "We're facing approximately 200 vessels. Their technology appears to be reality distortion-based but more advanced than ours. They're moving to intercept. Time to contact? 18 hours at current approach vectors." Reed looked around his bridge at crew members who were becoming less human by the day. Chief Rodriguez's hands were now partially translucent, energy flowing through his fingers like liquid starlight. Dr. Vasquez had begun to phase in and out of visible existence, existing simultaneously in multiple dimensions. "Options?" Reed asked. "We could fight," Park said, and Reed heard the hunger in her voice. "The reality distortion engine is more powerful than their individual ships. We could consume their energy, add their technology to our own capabilities." The casual way she spoke about consuming other beings sent chills down Reed's spine. This was exactly what the transmission from their alternate selves had warned about. "Or we could run," Rodriguez added. "Jump back to Earth, warn them about the trap, and lead a hostile alien fleet straight to our homeworld?" Reed shook his head. "Not an option." Dr. Vasquez materialized beside him, her form more energy than matter now. "Captain, there is a third option. We could shut down the reality distortion engine. Without it, we'd be trapped in normal space, but we'd also stop transforming. And die when the Zalathi fleet reaches us," Park pointed out. "Maybe. Or maybe they'd show mercy to a crew that chose to remain human rather than become monsters." Reed closed his eyes, feeling the weight of the decision. Around him, he could sense his crew's transformed minds touching his own, sharing their thoughts and fears. They were becoming something beyond human, but they were still his people, still his responsibility. "Sir?" Kim spoke up from his communication station. "We're detecting massive energy signatures throughout this region of space. The Zalathi haven't just sent a fleet. They've turned this entire area into a trap. Reality distortion dampeners, probability anchors, weapons that can lock us into a single timeline." Reed opened his eyes, looking at his crew, his family, as they waited for his decision. In 18 hours, they would face a test that would determine not just their survival but the future of humanity's place in the galaxy. "Dr. Vasquez," he said finally, "how long would it take to modify the reality distortion engine? Instead of using it as a weapon, could we use it to reverse our transformations, to make ourselves human again?" She flickered between dimensions for several seconds before responding. "Theoretically possible. But Captain, the process would be agonizing, and there's no guarantee we'd survive it. Better to die human than live as monsters," Reed said quietly. Around the bridge, his transformed crew nodded in agreement. They were still human enough for that. Epilogue: The Choice of Humanity. 6 months later. The emergency session of the United Earth Council was smaller this time. Only the essential personnel had clearance to hear what Captain Reed had to report from his hospital bed on Luna Station. His body showed the effects of voluntary reality distortion reversal, scars that seemed to shift between dimensions, eyes that occasionally reflected light that wasn't there, hands that sometimes passed through solid objects when he wasn't concentrating, but he was human. recognizably, unmistakably human. The Zalathi were testing us, he explained to the assembled leaders. Not just our technology, but our character. They wanted to see if we would choose power over principle when faced with the ultimate temptation. Admiral Hayes leaned forward. And did we pass their test? Reed's scarred face managed a small smile. 17 of my crew survived the reversal process. 17 humans who chose to remain human rather than become gods. The Zalathi were impressed. He activated a holographic display showing star charts marked with new symbols. They've offered us membership in what they call the Organic Alliance, species that have developed advanced technology while maintaining their essential nature. Full access to their knowledge, their star charts, their trade networks. In exchange for what? Senator Rodriguez asked suspiciously. Our promise that we'll never again build weapons like the Pandora, that will help them monitor other developing species, guide them away from the same mistakes we almost made. Director Morrison spoke up from the back of the chamber. What happened to the Pandora? We gave it to the Zalathi. They've hidden it somewhere safe, along with all our research data. They said it was too dangerous to exist, even locked away. Some knowledge once gained can't be forgotten. Dr. Vasquez, also scarred but human, stepped forward. The Alliance has provided us with alternative technologies. Clean fusion, gravity manipulation, medical advances that don't require reality distortion. We can reach the stars without losing our souls. Counselor Williams raised her hand. Captain, in your opinion, did we make the right choice? Reed was quiet for a long moment, remembering the intoxicating power of reshaping reality with a thought, the godlike abilities they had willingly abandoned. Then he looked around the room at the human faces. Flawed, limited, mortal, but undeniably alive in ways that his transformed crew had begun to lose. Ask me again in 100 years, he said finally. When we're exploring the galaxy as partners rather than conquerors, when we're helping other species avoid the traps we fell into, when humanity has proven that it can grow beyond its birth world without losing what makes us human. He stood carefully, his reality-scarred body protesting the movement. The universe is vast and full of wonders we can't imagine. But the greatest wonder is that we get to explore it as ourselves, flawed, curious, hopeful humans reaching for the stars. As the council members filed out, each lost in thought about humanity's future, Reed remained behind with Dr. Vasquez. Together they looked out through the station's viewport at Earth, blue and green and perfectly, beautifully human. Do you ever regret it? She asked quietly. Giving up that power? Reed watched clouds swirl over the Pacific, thought about children playing in parks, lovers walking hand in hand, artists creating beauty that would outlast them all. Simple human moments that his transformed self would have viewed as trivial. Energy fluctuations. Never, he said. The universe has enough gods. It needs more humans. In the depths of space, hidden in dimensions beyond normal perception, the Pandora drifted in its quantum prison. Sometimes on quiet nights when the barriers between realities were thin, observers claimed they could hear voices from the ship, the whispers of the crew they might have become, the gods they had chosen not to be. But these were just stories, told by humans who had learned that some prices were too high to pay, even for the power to reshape the cosmos itself. The stars waited, patient and eternal, for a species wise enough to explore them without losing its soul. The end.